a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
Hey YouTubers, if you like what you see, make sure you click subscribe below. Today we're going to start a new episode called Change My Mind. This is the wide receiver edition. So sit back, crack a cold one, and enjoy.
In a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
You watch this right now. His first 3 weeks for Mike Evans will be the best 3 weeks stretch of the entire season.
I disagree. That's
Well, you're gonna do 12, so
that's not going to be his best 3 game stretch of the season.
okay. I will stand firm on that.
Ready? Stand right, my brother.
That's all I do.
Welcome back, everybody. Triple Coverage Podcast. I'm here with my brother James. Whoa. And I am Jay. And today we have a new game for you. We're testing this out, but I think it's going to be a winner. It is Change My Mind, and this is the wide receiver edition. So what we're going to do is you have 10 wide receivers you picked out, James.
I did.
They're folded up on the table right in front of us, and we're going to basically draw a name out of a hat, and we have to make an argument for that player against each other and why we would take that guy
Over the other.
over the other.
So they're all wide receiver, probably 3s to 5 range. None of these guys are going to be big names. They're all going to be kind of like a flex play option, we feel, to start the season. So there's not going to be huge names of like Antonio Browns versus so-and-so. We already know both those guys are automatic starts. If you're a wide receiver 1, there's no argument there. You're just a wide receiver 1. So these guys are all fringe players that what could be flex or maybe a little bit later. And it doesn't matter, Jay, if you like the guy or not. You're going to have to stick up for that guy and act like you love this guy.
Yes.
Okay? So no facial expressions. No, darn it, I can't win this. So I read you the names, but you don't know who we're going to pick. So do you want to start and we'll just both draw a name real quick?
Yeah, let's
Or anything
start.
else
There's
you wanna
not
add?
going to be a winner. It's up to the viewers to decide and the listeners on the podcast to decide who they like better and who makes a better argument. But there's not going to be a winner and a loser on this.
Well,
So
we can actually put up a poll on the YouTube video,
Yeah.
and for every single time that we go, and then you can vote to see if either you think James won or you think Jay won. Right?
yeah, I can put up a poll as soon as we get this posted.
All right, I feel very confident. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll let you draw first.
All right.
So Jay got
I got Kenny Stills.
your favorite we just talked about. I actually got Kenny Golladay. So Kenny Golladay from the Detroit Lions versus Kenny Stills. Did you want to go first, or do you want to state the case for? You want me to
No,
state first?
You go for him first.
Okay, so we're talking redraft, right? We're talking PPR league. I don't really have much to go on for Kenny Galladay's production last season. He went through a lot of injuries. He had a lot of ups and downs, and being a first-year wide receiver, he wasn't really expected to be a number 1 receiver because you have Golden Tate and you have Marvin Jones. But that's actually why I like Kenny Galladay. Usually it's a third year for wide receivers. For me, though, I can see Galladay having a lot of fantasy relevant this year, and it's because they lose Eric Ebron, Detroit did, and didn't really replace him with anybody at tight end for a red zone target. Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, both smaller guys. They're both 6 foot or under, and then you have Kenny Galladay, who's a monster, and he's a great red zone target. So I don't see Kenny Galladay blowing up for 80 catches, but he doesn't need that. If he just gets his 50 to 60 catches and he'll get the touchdown production, I think easily he beats out Kenny Stills with the whole mess that's going on there in Miami. There's way too many options there. Kenny Stills going to get lost in the shuffle with the rest of those guys, and I don't think any of them are going to be guys that you're going to want to start in your flex spot for the entire season.
All right, it's a good
Did I
point.
change your mind?
That's a good point. Well, let me state my case on Kenny Stills to see if you change your mind, and then we'll go over that. So, Kenny Stills, he's being drafted a little bit higher than Kenny Galladay.
Right.
And the reason I like Kenny Stills more is because he's the number 2 in Miami. We talked about on previous episodes how Miami's lost a little off defense. They lost Ndamukong Suh, which is a big part of their defense. He's a guy that's going to get targets. You had very inconsistent play. They brought Jay Cutler basically out of retirement because Ryan Tannehill got hurt in camp last year.
Right.
So he missed the entire season. You have Tannehill back. He's healthy. He's had a good season with Kenny Stills.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Stills is a model of consistency. He's missed 1 game in the last 6 seasons.
Okay.
So he's going to be a guy that's going to be out there for you. And where he's going in the rounds, I like him a lot better than Kenny Galladay. Give me the number 2 on a team that has a bad defense rather than the number 3 that's trying to fight and eat into it. You got to remember that Kenny Galladay, where he's good, he's got Golden Tate and Marvin Jones, who both finished in the top 14 as receivers. So where is he going to get that consistency from, even on a throwing team? They have a brand new coach there with Matt Patricia.
Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, you're right. There's 2 of those guys finished in the top 14. So that Kenny Galladay doesn't have to do that. He can finish as wide receiver 30, and that still puts him as a wide receiver 3 that you're starting in your flex. So I don't buy into the he's a third option thing as much, because in Miami you can't tell me that you know for sure that Kenny Stills is number 2. They brought in Amendola, they brought in Albert Wilson, they still have Devontae Parker. There's 4 guys there to me, and it's not cemented that Kenny Stills by any means is a number 2. Kenny Galladay is going a full round after Kenny Stills as well. So Galladay is going in the back end, almost the last pick, 12-11. He's going in the 13th round. So you're drafting Kenny Galladay as like your 6th, or you're probably your 5th wide receiver, whereas Kenny Stills going around above him, still not going to be a guy that you have to rely on. But if you're telling me that I have the youth and the size of Kenny Galladay or Kenny Stills and a bunch of wide receiver, what are you, and a committee basically, it's almost like a running back committee, I feel like Miami is. I don't know. I'll take the upside.
Don't forget that Landry's gone.
You don't want the upside of
Landry's a PPR monster, and you're missing all those targets.
Okay,
who
who they bring in?
Landry?
Who they bring in as a PPR monster?
They brought
Danny Amendola.
He's made of glass.
You can't assume injuries when we're doing this. We're assuming that every player is playing 16 games. You can mention the injury history if he has or has not had one. I get that, but you can't rely on Danny Amendola just to pencil him in to miss 6 games. Like, it's just you can't do that when you're drafting. I stay away from the player when I do that. I'm not going to draft a guy thinking, wow, I really hope he plays 10 games this season. Like, no, you draft a guy.
No, you take a guy that's going to be like, you know what, I'm probably going to get 15 or 16 games out of this guy, and he's got his quarterback back, and they're going to be in the defense that has no defense. They're going to be behind every game.
Who do you believe in more, Ryan Tannehill or Matt Stafford?
I believe in Matt Stafford more
Okay,
than I
who do you
believe in
believe
Tannehill.
in? A wide receiver 3 with Matt Stafford or a wide receiver potential 2 with Ryan Tannehill, dude?
Give me the wide receiver 2. He's going to be
With
on the
Ryan
field
Tannehill?
He's going to be on the field for more snaps than Kenny
Okay,
Galladay
for sure
will
he
be.
will. Okay, that doesn't mean anything.
So
to me.
that is more opportunity. And yes, he has games where he might disappear, but he has those boom or bust potential games where he's had like 27 points, 33 points, 28 points. He can have those big games like that.
Are we doing a wall bet on every one of these?
I mean, we
We
might
don't
as
have
well.
to. We don't have to.
No, that would get kind of lengthy.
It's just, like, if I'm looking for boom or bust, I think both these guys are that. I don't think that either one of these guys you're going to feel very comfortable with starting as your flex and being like, pencil this guy in for sure. I know he's going to give me X amount of points. But I think the upside of Kenny Galladay with his size and his red zone ability to go up and get balls, he's the only guy on the team, man. He's the only guy. Like, in their running backs like Theo Riddick and like guys that can catch and carry on Johnson, but they're not red zone guys. Marvin Jones and Golden Tate are not red zone guys.
Some guys out, and especially in Twitter sphere, where everyone's an expert, some guys even have Kenny Stills as being the number 1 guy because they don't trust Devontae Parker. And I know that Miami wants to make Devontae Parker the number 1, but that's not even a guarantee. So now you're looking at a possible number 1. No matter what Kenny Galladay does this year in the Detroit offense, he's not going to leapfrog Marvin Jones and Golden Tate.
But
he's not.
See, to me that doesn't matter sometimes though. If you're talking like, would you rather have the wide receiver 1 on the New York Jets, or would you rather have the wide receiver 2 on the Detroit Lions? Like, wide receiver 1, 2 doesn't really matter when we're talking about fantasy points.
We're not talking about the number 2. You're talking about the number 3 option.
Okay, so what? And a team.
I'd rather have the number 1 option on the Jets.
Detroit throws the ball probably, I would say, close to 100 times more a season than the Miami Dolphins, Jay.
Well, they have a new coach, so we don't really know that they're going to do that.
Okay.
Kenny Galladay finished as the wide receiver 71 last year in PPR leagues.
How many weeks did he play, Jay?
And Kenny Stills finished as the wide receiver 28.
Okay. How many weeks did he play? Kenny Stills played all of them. Galladay started the season and then got hurt and missed, what, I think 7 games or 6 games?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He missed
Keep going.
5 games.
Keep going.
Yeah.
5 games.
5
okay.
games.
It's kind of a lot, isn't it?
Well, I guess that's why he's 50 spots lower than him.
Okay, do you want to take that wall bet then, that he finishes within 50 spots of them? I mean, come on. You don't think that
I'm
had
not
anything to
saying
do with
50
injury?
spots.
I
I'm
mean,
just
come
saying
on.
that, okay,
Exactly.
you didn't change my mind.
I mean, you changed my mind to where, like, I could see, I don't know, like, I'm not fully invested in Kenny Galladay. You know I'm a Detroit Lions fan, and I'm not saying by any means I think Kenny Galladay is going to finish as a top 24 guy, but just to say that he's going to beat out Kenny Stills, I don't think is that outlandish. Kenny Stills should beat out Kenny Galladay. You are correct. So I guess in that case you changed my mind. He should beat him out, but we'll see. I'm not 100% on that.
You want to draw first this time?
I do. But you have to go first. James, another one of my guys, Cameron Meredith. I'm a definite Cameron Meredith believer, so I can't wait for this. Another guy that was hurt last season, so great. I get to argue somebody that didn't get to play again.
I picked Calvin Ridley.
Okay. Which you love.
So the Rook.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Okay, so
Wide receiver 3 on the team. Let's see how you do with this.
Wide receiver 3 on a high-powered offense like the Atlanta Falcons. This is the second year in Sarkisian's offense. Last year, obviously, they hit a huge road bump after Shanahan left. Okay, so they hit the speed bump, and they have Sarkisian now in his second year of offense. Calvin Ridley was the most pro-ready receiver to be drafted out of the NFL draft this season.
I agree.
He's 23 years old, so he's on the older side for rookies, which is kind of like Cooper Kupp last year, and you saw what Cooper Kupp did in the Rams offense as the quote-unquote number 3 wide receiver, and he did just fine. So give me any share of Calvin Ridley this year, especially with the news just breaking today that Julio Jones is unhappy with his contract.
Oh, stop it.
And now he wants to get an extension or else he's going to hold out. How's
that going to help?
Julio Jones is the type of guy that when he holds out, he's going to get hurt for sure. He needs to be in camp. He needs to be stretching. He needs to be out there practicing because if he holds out for the preseason, he's a guy that's falling off my radar. Julio Jones is. I won't draft Julio Jones in any redraft leagues.
Yeah. Okay.
If he sits out all of camp and all of a sudden says, "Hey, I'm here for week 1," that just proves that Ridley's going to get more reps. I think Ridley is better than Mohamed Sanu, and I think that he is the one that ends up getting the second most receptions on the team behind Julio Jones if Julio Jones shows up for camp.
That was my hot take that I had last week, that I thought Calvin Ridley would outscore Mohamed Sanu. Now you're trying to use it. Interesting approach. So what I didn't hear in your entire argument was why Cameron Meredith isn't a better option or is a better option than Calvin Ridley. There was no comparison. It was all Calvin Ridley talk, which means that I truly believe that you don't believe it. I think that you know that Cameron Meredith is a better option because he's also in a high-powered offense as the number 2 wide receiver, which you just said 4 minutes ago that you'd rather have the number 2 guy than the number 3 guy. You literally just said that. So now let's see if you actually believe that then.
You don't know if Meredith's number 2.
He's a
brand new receiver. Who's going to beat him out? Off a major injury.
Jay, who's going to beat him out?
Right now, Ted Ginn is the number 2 there. Right now.
Come on, dude.
Right now,
okay,
he's
do
the
you
number
honestly
2.
believe that?
Yes.
Ted Ginn's going to finish higher than fantasy points wise than Cameron Meredith. If that's the case, then put it on the wall. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Or are you just saying that for this argument?
No, I think Ted Ginn could outbeat Cameron Meredith. You don't know what you're going to get at Cameron Meredith.
Okay, I'm going to write it down. Cameron Meredith versus Ted Ginn.
The best case scenario is Meredith is the number 2. The worst case is that he doesn't have the same kind of distance. That he doesn't get the same kind of distance.
The best case for Ridley is he's the number 2. That's the best case. He's going to be the number 3. He's starting at number 3. Everyone knows it's Mohamed Sanu and Julio Jones. So don't even. That's a horrible argument. You have also that Cameron Meredith's going in the back end in the 11th round, whereas Calvin Ridley's going a round and a half higher than him. So you're going to take a rookie wide receiver in the 10th round in a redraft league. I've never seen him taking a snap in the entire NFL. At least you've seen Cameron Meredith have a season before. It wasn't last season because he got hurt, and that's unfortunate that he missed the entire year. He is coming off a season-ending injury, but that was at the very beginning of the season, before the season even started. It wasn't like it happened week 14 or week 15. You're like, oh my God, hopefully he's back for the season. It was over a year ago already. So he's had 1 full year to recover from his injury. I think he's going to be completely fine. And now he's got Drew Brees throwing him the ball, which is one of the most accurate quarterbacks to ever play the game. Give me Drew Brees and the number 2 option in New Orleans well over a rookie that you don't know what is going on with him.
I don't remember honestly. What was his injury? Was it ACL or was it Achilles?
No, it was. Remember, it was that. What was
I remember he was playing Tennessee Titans in the preseason, and I remember him going down, and I know it was a leg injury, but I can't remember if it was.
It says his knee.
Okay, so it's probably ACL then.
Okay.
Because otherwise, if it was his Achilles, it would be his.
Yeah, he played 0. He didn't do anything. Right.
To me, there's just a lot of question marks, and if I'm going to take, especially when I'm going a round difference, I'd rather have Ridley a round earlier, who's healthy and who's obviously going to get a lot of playing time, especially if Julio Jones sits out of camp. Who do you think is going to take his spot in practice, in training camp? It's going to be Ridley and Sanu getting all the reps. And I know that Julio Jones can just jump right in week 1, but that's the type of thing that scares me. Le'Veon Bell did it last year, and he jumped in week 1, and the first couple of weeks he kind of struggled, and he got right back on the train. I don't think Julio Jones is that type of player. I think he needs to be like in game shape, and he needs
He's
to
had
show
it-
up. So to me, if Ridley's going to
He
get all
already
that
has- He already
experience,
has a rapport with Matt Ryan, so that's not. I don't see why that you think that's anything.
it's only strictly injury.
I mean,
That's all. I'm not talking about not having
looking
rapport.
at
It's
Cameron
strictly
Meredith.
injury.
Cameron Meredith is 25 years old. He's only 2 years older than Calvin Ridley right now. He's still very young. If he comes back and he's anywhere near the healthy, which it says he is, he's not on the injury report. He's going to be practicing just as much as he did last season before he got hurt. He's fine now.
It's an if.
I don't-
Your player's an if. Mine is he's starting.
He's not an if.
No,
Hasn't taken a snap in the NFL, and you're penciling him in as he's not an if already.
as probably the starting slot receiver. If not, I think they're going to put him in the slot, not the outside. I think they're going to have Sanu and Jones on the outside and Ridley in the slot.
What did Taylor Gabriel do the last 3 seasons he was there? out
Taylor
of the slot?
Gabriel is not the same type of player that Calvin Ridley is.
I'm saying,
not even close.
the third option in Atlanta at wide receiver. What has he done the last 3 seasons? Has he been anywhere near fantasy relevant where you would start him on your roster?
You
Yes or
can't
no?
say that, James, because he's a gadget player. Taylor Gabriel is not a number 3 receiver. He's a gadget guy.
Okay.
So you can't compare him with a true slot receiver that's a PPR guy. It's completely different.
3 seasons.
Position.
3 seasons he had and didn't do anything any of those seasons. Regardless of how they used him, he lined up as a third option at wide receiver.
Gadget guy.
Okay.
He was never going to overtake Mohamed Sanu, and he was never going to overtake Julio Jones. I think Ridley can overtake Sanu easily.
Overtake him and
As
catches
far as targets, yeah, I think he can overtake that number 2 and solidify that number 2
See,
role
what sucks is
behind
you're
Julio.
using my argument I made last week against me, so I can't argue that.
So what am I supposed to?
I obviously believe it because I said that last week, and now you're piggybacking on my argument. So congratulations, I guess. I don't know.
What do you want me to say? He's better looking than Cameron Meredith? Like, what
No,
argument
I
do you
just
want me
think-
to say?
No, you saying that he's going to be the number 2 and can easily overtake Mohamed Sanu, which is what I said last week when we got the wall bet out of you.
Okay, but I agreed with you on that, didn't I?
Correct. So I
So,
still don't
I still
think
feel
that
that
has
way.
any relevance over him being better than Cameron Meredith.
It wasn't like I said, hey, I'm going to take James's argument and use it. It's I felt the same exact way, so that's my argument as well.
But even with feeling that way, even if he did theoretically take over the number 2, I still like Cameron Meredith because I think that Ted Ginn, there's no chance that Ted Ginn is outscoring Cameron Meredith this year. There's 0 chance.
They have a lot of depth in New Orleans.
So
just like
this
they
is
do in
definitely
Atlanta.
one that you did not change my mind. If you're telling me right now who in a redraft, I'm on the clock and it's Cameron Meredith and Calvin Ridley, I'm taking Cameron Meredith.
I'm just saying that they both teams, both Atlanta and New Orleans, have depth at receiver because they brought in a rookie Traquan Smith also, so they both have depth.
Okay.
New Orleans and Atlanta.
But
So-
in Atlanta, their depth hasn't changed in the last 4 or 5 years. It's been Julio and Muhammad. Julio and Muhammad. No matter who the offensive coordinator was, no matter who the head coach was, no matter who the whatever, there's 2 things that have not changed there is those 2 guys. Same thing with Freeman. He's been there all the time. Kevin Coleman. Those 4 guys with Matt Ryan, which is 5 major starters. The quarterback, the 2 running backs, the 2 wide receivers have not changed in over 4 years. All of a sudden, Calvin Ridley's going to come in and just overtake that spot. I find that very hard to believe that they're just going to be like, see you later, Sanu. This new kid came in, you're gone. It's not like there's been a bunch of different changes. But you look at New Orleans, and there has been changes. New Orleans had lost Willie Snead, and then they brought in Traquan Smith. They also bring in Meredith. There's moving parts that are going on there, and Cameron Meredith has an opportunity to play with Drew Brees, who throws the ball almost 600 times a year. 600 times a year. So I'm in no at all being scared of the fact that Cameron Meredith's going to get plenty of targets in New Orleans.
I think that when it comes down to it, and I think the listeners would agree that if it comes down to it in a redraft league, and you have Cameron Meredith and you have Calvin Ridley on the clock, you're taking Ridley ahead of Cameron Meredith.
I'm taking Meredith. If it's in a dynasty league, I'll take Ridley. If it's in a redraft league, a PPR league, I'll take Cameron Meredith.
I'm still taking Ridley.
Okay. So you didn't change my mind on that one. Go ahead.
I'll pick first here.
Next. I have a feeling that I'm not going to change your mind at all. That's how you're going to be. Oh my God! I keep pulling every one of my studs.
Is this another injury guy or no?
Keelan Cole.
Oh, but I was hoping I would get Keelan Cole to argue it against you.
You got
I
your
have
guy.
Chris Godwin.
Okay, there
Tampa
you
Bay
go.
Buccaneers.
So Chris Godwin versus Keelan Cole. To
And
me,
this has actually
good
been
one.
a sore subject for you in the past with the whole Godwin argument that I've had against you.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense whatsoever.
So you're gonna go first this time.
I will go first. Keelan Cole. This is just dumb luck. Just yesterday on Twitter, I proclaimed that Keelan Cole was going to be a top 24 receiver, and I think that he will lead the Jacksonville Jaguars in fantasy points. The reason being, they lose Allen Robinson. He was gone last year anyway because of injury, but now he's off the team. They also lost, Allen Hurns went to Dallas. So now you lose your top 2, wide receiver 1 and 2, and you have Marquise Lee, D.D. Westbrook, and Keelan Cole. You also have, I think, who's the 4th guy that's there? Dante Moncrief. None of those guys, to me, have the talent that Keelan Cole has. You saw flashes of it last year. Keelan Cole did have a little spurt where he was the man. Are you highlighting him right now? Or where you at? Because I'm trying to follow on the TV and you're all over the place. Or you're studying for your guy. And
I
can
just
you go
looked to
down
see where
Keelan
my
Cole?
guys was.
So Keelan Cole, I believe last season, keep scrolling right there.
Right there,
Finished as
46.
wide receiver 46. Last season, can you scroll over just a little bit the other side? Yeah, there you go. So at the end of the season, when he did get the starting job and they did start to play him, he finished as 14 points, 19 points, 34.5 points, 20 points, and then 6.5. So if you did play him during your fantasy playoff week, he got you 19, 35, and 20. He pretty much won you your league if you had the balls enough to stay with him. That's when Blake Bortles started to click at the end of the season, and then all of a sudden Blake Bortles became a QB1. So the stretch that they did play Keelan Cole and gave him the opportunity and threw him the targets, all of a sudden Jacksonville went on a tear and Blake Bortles looked like an actual relevant quarterback, which he hadn't been in the last 3 seasons. Everyone was talking about they're going to drop him. Everyone's saying they're going to cut him. They're going to draft a quarterback. All of a sudden, he has a 6-week stretch where he was just amazing. And who was his main prime target that entire time? It was Keelan Cole. So if you don't think that he's going to start into training camp and into preseason going to Keelan Cole as his first option, I don't know what to tell you. You guys are crazy. So it's not that I don't like or I do like Chris Godwin. I think it's irrelevant because Keelan Cole has a legit opportunity to finish as a wide receiver in the top 24, and Godwin is not anywhere close. He won't even sniff the top 30. He won't even be anywhere near that. Chris Godwin is a specialty type of player that won't do anything until Deshaun Jackson and Adam Humphries leaves. He's no chance he's going to ever be the wide receiver 2. We know he's not going to be a wide receiver 1 ever because they have Mike Evans. So wide receiver 1's already out. He's wide receiver 2 to 3, maybe even wide receiver 4. And you know what? They have 2 tight ends there that are pretty damn good. Cameron Brate, who finished the tight end 1 2 seasons in a row, and OJ Howard hasn't really done much either. So way too many options going on in there in Tampa for this Chris Godwin kid to be relevant. And he's 22 years old, as a 3rd-round pick. I mean, he's just too young. He's still at least another season away.
The reason I like
Change
Godwin,
my mind, please.
The reason I like Godwin more than Cole is a couple simple reasons. I think that he is going to be force-fed the ball because they don't have any kind of ties to Deshaun Jackson. He's going to be gone after next year, Deshaun Jackson is. You have Mike Evans, who's the clear-cut number 1 there. It's still out. The jury's still out if they want to keep Jameis Winston as their quarterback of the future. But as of right now, all they have is Ryan Fitzpatrick behind him. So you're going to have Godwin in every single set. Godwin's better than Adam Humphries, so
No,
he's
he's
going to
not.
start over Adam Humphries.
Do you think Chris
He
Godwin's
is.
going to be in every single set?
I think he's going to be in
That's a joke.
every 3 wide receiver set. He's going to be in on that. He's going to be ahead of Adam Humphries on the depth chart.
Why? Why? What has he done? Go
He
back and
did
look at
the
his numbers.
same-
He finished as wide receiver 70 last season.
He
and
did
look
the
at his
same,
numbers.
He did the same thing towards the end of the year.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did, James.
He had 2 good weeks, Jay.
3 out of his last 4 weeks is when he turned it on. He's only in his 2nd year.
Okay.
3 out of his last 4 weeks, he was in double digits, and that's when he started to kind of turn it on with Jameis Winston towards the end of the season. If you go back and look, he had nothing at the beginning of the season. He was obviously struggling as a rookie. Now he's going into his 2nd year. He's on a potent offense. I mean, they're obviously not going to be in a shootout, but their defense is going to be bottom
No, I
half.
thought you said their defense is going to be good, Tampa.
Yeah, but have you seen what
You
the
said that
division they're in?
You've said that multiple times. Do you think Tampa Bay's defense is good? Multiple
I think
times.
they're gonna be
Now
better
you're
than
trying
they
to
were
tell me
last year.
Now you're going to try to tell me they're finishing the back end just to try to get your argument. That's
Bottom
weird.
half.
That's weird.
They'll be throwing.
This is what's great about being
I don't
on a
trust their
podcast
running
is
game.
that everything's recorded, and I remember everything that you say on this. And you said that Tampa Bay is going to have a above average, if I'm not mistaken. The exact words were they're going to have a top defense. And I was like, okay. And you're like, yeah, they upgraded this and they upgraded that. Now all of a sudden you're saying that they're going to be a bottom dweller defense to try to promote the fact that they're going to throw more, which is going to be more targets at Godwin. And I'm not falling for that BS because I heard you say it on the podcast, and it's recorded if you want to go back and listen.
I still would take Godwin ahead of Keelan
No,
Cole
you
because,
would not.
and I'll tell you why, because of Keelan Cole,
You're so
because they have no clear-cut receiver, number 1 receiver in Jacksonville. I think every week is going to be a different
That's why
guy.
it's up in the air. No, I think it's right now it's any man's job, and you'll know week 1 when it comes into who gets some more targets week 1 because right now it's 3. There's only 3 options in my opinion. It's Lee, D.D. Westbrook, and Keelan Cole. If anything, D.D. Westbrook maybe wins that job. There's no possible way Marquise Lee is going to win that starting job in Jacksonville, in my opinion. The wide receiver 1. All 3 of them are going to get plenty of
They
action.
paid him too much to not throw him the ball. I'm not a big believer in Lee
Quarterbacks don't-
himself, but they paid him too much to just not throw him the ball.
Jay, do you think if all 3 of them are on the field at the same time, Blake Bortles is that quarterback, do you think he thinks like, yeah, I need to make sure I get this guy the ball a little bit more because he signed a big contract? He doesn't give a crap. Whoever's open, whoever's the more productive wide receiver that gets the separation is who he's going to throw the ball to. He doesn't give a shit in the world of what this guy's contract was. You think
It's
honestly
not
you really
up
believe
to
that?
Blake Bortles. It's up
Who
to the
throws the ball?
offensive coordinator who they're playing the calls for.
He still has to throw him the
Who they're
ball,
calling
Jay.
plays for.
If he's not open, he ain't going to throw it to him. But what did Des Bryant do the last 2 seasons of his career? Nothing, because Dak Prescott couldn't get the ball in the tiny little window because he had no separation. They don't care if he's making $20 million a year.
But he still tried throwing it to him. He just couldn't
How'd
catch.
that work?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're
But
going to
they're
throw to the
still
guy that's
paying him.
open. Throw to the guy that's There's zero. I know you're
It's
trying
going
to
to
sell
be
it.
every single week, James, going to be a different receiver that leads that team. It's going to be a different guy.
And you know who will never
one
lead?
week will be
you know
Keelan
who
Cole,
will,
one week will be Dede.
And you know who will never lead for Tampa? Chris Godwin.
He didn't lead the last week. He wasn't leader there. He 27 points. That beat out Mike Evans.
So 1 out of 17 weeks he was. That's a great argument. That's a great argument. 1 out of 17
Is
weeks.
one
If you
more
feel
than zero. You said never.
If you feel more confident, the last week of the season when they're playing a team and they're irrelevant, they're out of the playoffs. You're
you
right.
said
he
never,
killed. He
and
killed.
I said it's not never.
He killed. Who they play? Click on it.
Keelan Cole.
Click on it.
Keelan Cole will not be the number one receiver every single week like you think he's going to be. It's going to be a different guy every week.
Doesn't have
There's
to.
going to be weeks where Moncrief is the top guy, and there's going to be weeks where Lee's the top guy. There's going to be weeks where Westbrook is the top guy. There's too many guys there.
Okay, and Godwin, how many weeks for
Alan
17
Lazard they brought. There's too many guys.
For the 16 weeks that Tampa Bay plays, how many times do you think Chris Godwin is going to lead the Tampa Bay Buccaneers receiving core and fantasy points?
4.
Jay? How many?
4.
There's
Like
no way you believe
You're
that.
asking a question that no one can answer, James.
What, you're just saying the same
How many
thing
times is
about
Keelan Cole going to lead?
Whatever you think Godwin, times that by 3.
What do you think Keelan Cole is going to lead? How many times? I need an answer. How many
10.
times? There you go. And you have no way to prove that, right?
What I'm saying is that you just said all 3 guys are kind of up in the air. But we know one thing for sure in Tampa is that's not the case. You have a clear-cut superstar wide receiver.
Number
So
1.
you would assume, Jay, if you had no dog in this fight whatsoever, you would assume to say that the guy that's in a share of 3 guys where none is a star and they're all fighting for that position would have a lot better chance to finish as a wide receiver 1 than the guy that's behind a damn superstar wide receiver. Am I wrong or no? Who would you rather have? The guy that's behind a superstar receiver or a guy that's legit actually fighting for the number 1 spot? The number 1 is not already penciled in. He's number 2.
Do you not think if Keelan
Exactly.
Cole...
You want to answer the question.
Do you not think if Keelan Cole the first 2 weeks all of a sudden has 2 fantastic games and all of a sudden they roll that number 1 corner over to...
I don't think it matters.
They start game planning? An undrafted free agent, you don't think it matters? He's just...
No, I'm saying I think the talent is there with Keelan Cole. I've been saying it for 2 months. It's not just for this segment. It's not for this episode. I've been saying it for 2 months. So I obviously believe it. You know I'm not BSing you. I truly believe that Keelan Cole is going to be the number 1 receiver. I went out in every single league possible and tried to get my shares of Keelan Cole. So this is not something, a facade I'm putting on. It's not an act. I believe that Keelan Cole will be a top 24 guy, and Chris Godwin is nowhere near a top 24 guy right now.
I'm not saying that Keelan Cole is not good. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's going to be inconsistent, just like Godwin's going to be inconsistent. You're not going to know which week you're going to have to play this guy. It's going to be a different guy every week, and if he does have a first good few weeks,
I disagree with that.
they're going to put the number 1 corner and start game planning for Keelan Cole and letting somebody else beat them, whereas in Tampa Bay, Mike Evans every single week, even if he has 5 bad weeks in a row, Mike Evans is getting the number 1 corner.
Okay.
Every week.
So as of right now, Keelan Cole is going in the 14th round, and Godwin is not being drafted in redraft. So,
Well, that's a travesty.
yeah, clearly.
No pun intended.
All I'm saying is, if I just Chris Godwin to me is very fluky, where I don't see that as Keelan Cole. Even if Marquise Lee is the number 1 scorer that week and Keelan Cole's the number 2, that's still going to be more fantasy relevant than Chris Godwin sometime finishing as the number 4. If all of a sudden Deshaun Jackson catches a long touchdown, you have Evans going to finish number 1 majority of the time because of targets. You have Deshaun Jackson every once in a while catching that long touchdown, and he's going to be the number 2. And then you have Adam Humphries there as well, who had 60-something catches last season, and he had 60 catches the season before that. So now you put him in as the number 3, possibly number 4, and you also have a great tight end there. And who does Jacksonville have?
They brought
Austin Seferian-Jenkins, right? This first year there.
But they brought him in as a free agent. So obviously they like him. It wasn't like they just grabbed some guy off the practice squad. They brought him in for 2 years. So you think they're just not going to throw to him either? They're going to pay Lee and Seferian-Jenkins and not throw to those guys.
And you don't think there's any kind of speed bump at all that Jameis Winston is not even the starting quarterback for the first 3 weeks? That it's going to be first it's going to be Fitzpatrick. He's going to have to adjust to him, and then all of a sudden, oh no, week 4 is here. Okay, now it's Jameis Winston. That's not going to. He's just going to take Godwin's so good that he's going to take that in stride and just not notice the difference.
Well, according to what you said,
I think Fitzpatrick's better.
Well, there you go.
Right, but there's still an adjustment for the receivers. I'm saying is to go from one quarterback to another. Correct? I didn't say who's good.
Not
and who's
necessarily, because right now they're both in practice.
bad. Okay. Okay.
It's not like they brought him off his couch. They're both at practice, right?
Right now, both these guys are on the board in a redraft league.
Godwin.
You're full of shit. Okay, so I didn't convince you to go with Keelan Cole. You honestly, truly believe that in a redraft, because that's the case, I'll take the ball
It's
back.
not up to convincing each other. It's the people listening are going to have to decide
want you to
who
change
they
my mind.
want to change. We're changing their mind. We're not
Okay.
changing each other's mind.
Well, clearly. So I'll take
What do
Keelan
you
Cole
want?
against
You want to
Godwin.
call you a winner just so you can feel good
No,
about
I'll
it?
take Keelan Cole versus
You're a winner.
Godwin. I'll take Keelan Cole versus Godwin. No?
Fine.
And on a wall bet?
Sure.
Okay. Another W there. More points. Okay. Draw. We got maybe one left unless we make this one quick. Great. Wonderful. James drew Alan Hearns. Jay?
There you go. Another Jacksonville guy. I got Corey Davis.
Alan Hearns is a Dallas guy now.
Yeah, but I
Who?
know he
Corey
came from
Davis?
Jacksonville last year.
This is going to be tough. Go ahead.
Where are they at in the things? You remember?
In what? Alan Hearns. I don't know where he finished. I doubt it was that high. We're looking at the our fantasy league from last season. It's
PPR
a PPR 1 point. We're just trying to figure out where they finished for Jay to have, I guess, an argument. There's Hearns at 66.
Dude, these guys are deep.
Yep. Hearns at 66.
So it doesn't matter where Corey Davis
and
finished.
Corey
He's gonna be a
Davis
different
was.
season.
Yep.
So you want me to go first? Is that
Yep.
what the situation is? Okay, so this Tennessee team is something that I'm really excited about. We've actually talked about it on the podcast before because they got away from that stupid, exotic smash mouth offense that was like just older than dirt. It felt like it was an offense from the 50s. So to me, having Corey Davis and what I think is going to be an upstart offense, I think they're going to let the leash off of Marcus Mariota a little bit and let him play the way he did at Oregon. Now, moving into that spot is going to be Corey Davis. I think you still have Rashard Matthews there, but it's going to be the Corey Davis show in Tennessee. They brought in Dion Lewis to compete for running back touches with Derrick Henry, so you're going to use like a 50-50 split there. But I think they let Mariota air the ball out a little bit more, and you saw that towards the end of last season, especially in that playoff game that they had where Davis scored 2 touchdowns. I think he had like 90-something yards and 5 or 6 catches. You saw what Corey Davis can do. He started last season off with injuries, so he was behind the 8 ball right away. When you're a rookie coming into a brand new team, brand new camp, and you start off with injuries, of course you're going to be behind the 8 ball. But you come into this season healthy. He hasn't had any kind of setback whatsoever, and he's going to get a full season underneath this better offense. They brought in Matt LaFleur, who was the offensive coordinator at the Rams last year, and I love that. I think they're going to be airing the ball out. They're going to be scoring a lot of points, and it's not going to be the old, boring, slow-down offense. It's in a hurry-up offense. They want him to be the number 1. They drafted him to be number 1, and I think Corey Davis takes a huge leap this year.
I think Corey Davis definitely has the talent, but I think coming into a new system with a whole new offense is going to be tough for him, only in his second year. And really, to be honest, in his first season, he missed a lot of the season with injury and other things that were going on there. So he hasn't even really played an entire full season yet. We always say the receivers in their third year is when they take the big leap. To me, this is not even his second year really, because he's only played like 8 or 9 games last season. So I think the talent definitely is there. You have a point. But if you want production and you want targets, then you move over to Alan Hearns, who's going to be just, unfortunately, the de facto number 1. You have Michael Gallup that's there, who's a rookie, who hasn't done anything yet. I don't think that his production is going to be, I think it's going to be fantasy relevant, but no concern is Gallup going to just come in and catch 100 balls. So you have Alan Hearns there, you have Cole Beasley, and you have Terrence Williams. Cole Beasley and Williams have been there for years and have not had much fantasy production that you can actually rely on. Beasley, maybe if you're deep in a flex league, maybe in a 14-team league possibly, but we're stick to Alan Hearns. Alan Hearns to me is going to have every opportunity going from Jacksonville to Dallas, because I think personally that Dallas is going to be down a lot of games. I think Dallas' defensive line and linebackers are good, but I think their secondary is well below average. So I think that they're going to be giving up a lot of deep plays, which means that Dallas and Dak Prescott is going to be down a lot. And I think Ezekiel Elliott is going to get a lot of targets and a lot of dump-offs because of that. But as far as the wide receivers go, I think it's Alan Hearns, clear-cut number 1. For sure, going into week 1, he's the number 1. There's no one that's going to beat him out in training camp as the number 1 guy. Even if Beasley gets more production, he's the slot guy. You have Hearns and you have Gallup are going to be the 2 beneficial guys on the outside. They're going to be getting the majority of the targets, in my opinion. So if you're just talking about target-wise, I don't know how you can make an argument to say Corey Davis is going to get more targets than Hearns. And
You don't think Corey Davis gets more targets than?
I don't know. I think it's going to be very close, but I don't think
I'll
there's
take
any way.
that as a wall bet.
But
just targets, not even catches.
The biggest difference to me is when you look at where they're going. Now, you have Corey Davis is going as a second pick right now in the 6th round. To me, way too high. I understand the hype train was absurd coming into the league last season. Everyone drafted him in their dynasty drafts or rookie drafts as either number 1, 2, or number 3. He didn't fall out of the top 3 last season of where he was going because the hype train was out of control because of what he did in college. He had a flop of a season, did absolutely nothing. People are still trying to buy shares and scrambling on Corey Davis, but to me, I only owned him in one league and I shipped him off because I just don't know how long it's going to take for this offense to click together. But Allen Hurns right now is going in the back end of the 9th round. He's going 3.5 full rounds after Corey Davis. So if you're telling me I can get a potential wide receiver 1 on the Dallas Cowboy offense in the almost damn near the 10th round
and you
as my 5th...
You hate Dak Prescott.
I hate Prescott and I hate Dallas and I hate Allen Hurns. But guess what? At a certain point when the value's there, you have to stop thinking with your heart and start thinking with your head that in the 10th round, this is going to be my 5th to 6th wide receiver that could potentially be the number 1 on the team. At that point, I'm just dumb if I don't take him there. So you're talking to me that you'd rather waste your 3rd wide receiver on Corey Davis, as somebody that you might have to play every single week, or Allen Hurns is going to be the 5th or 6th wide receiver that if he doesn't work out is not that big a deal. But if he does, he's going to win you your league because he's the number 1 receiver in Dallas that you got as your 5th guy.
Allen Hurns is never going to win you your league. Allen Hurns
That's
is
what
never
you
going to
think.
be...
Not in Jacksonville, but now in Dallas he might.
He's not going to win you your league in Dallas because they want to run the ball more.
You can't run the ball, Jay, when you're down. That's the problem.
How do you know for sure they're going to be down?
Because they have the Giants in their division that's going to score a lot of points. They have Philly who puts up a ton of points. You have Washington. Okay, I'll give you that. But you're looking at Dallas's secondary. To me, and I don't know if you disagree or agree, this is a different argument, but I don't think they're anywhere near. They're outside the top 20. Their secondary. Correct?
They started 2 rookies last year.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Right?
one
They're
of
still
them
too
was
young.
hurt.
They're still too young.
They're in their 2nd year now, so at least
That's
give them a
why-
little bit of time to learn the position.
That's what I'm saying. I believe that they're too young right now. That's the reason I said I think your linebacking core is great with Sean Lee when he's healthy. Your defensive line is great when they're not doing drugs and PEDs and doing other off the field antics and they're on the field. But that's a problem with Dallas has been is that those guys haven't been able to stay on the field. So their defense has been lackluster, and it's going to be. I don't think it's going to get any better.
I
this
can
season.
tell you're not as confident in this argument. I can just tell, and you can tell your demeanor and you can tell your heart's not in this one. You know for a fact that there's no way you're taking Allen Hurns over Corey Davis, even with a 3-round difference.
If it's in the 6th round, 602, and it's between Corey Davis and Allen Hurns, to me it's a coin flip. But if it's in the 9th round and Allen Hurns is still there, you're telling me you're going to pass on Allen Hurns in the 10th round?
Yeah, because looking at the situation, there's guys that I would take ahead of him.
That are okay. Same. Look at Corey Davis. Okay, Corey Davis is on the board at 602. Jay, you have Michael Crabtree, Sammy Watkins, Will Fuller, all behind Corey Davis. You don't like any one of those guys more than Corey Davis?
Not those guys, no.
Really?
No.
Sammy Watkins over Corey Davis in a
The
redraft league.
The number 2 in Kansas City over the number 1 in Tennessee, yeah. And you have a rookie quarterback
Wait.
essentially.
Corey Davis now's number. When did Corey Davis overtake Rashard Matthews in the offseason?
Corey Davis is going to be the number 1, and you know
No,
he's
but
going to be the number 1.
did he take it? Oh, where is he
You know
listed on
he
the
is.
depth? Where is he listed on the depth chart?
They don't have their depth chart out yet because training camp hasn't even started.
So in the offseason, somewhere in there, guys, just let you know, Corey Davis overtook Rashard Matthews, the number 1. Jay just said. So
Do you wanna-
must have been everything he did last season.
You didn't want the other wall bet that I threw out because you just ignored it. Do you want that wall bet that Corey Davis is the number 1 receiver in Tennessee when the season's over?
By what? Fantasy points?
Yeah.
No, I think it's going to be a coin flip, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you don't want either one of those wall bets. Okay, so I must have changed your mind there. So you want to do one more, or do you want to?
Yeah, we can do one more.
All right, let's do one more. Let's take it. You want that one?
I don't
Doesn't
care.
matter to me.
Shit. You want to trade? Who you got? Oh, okay, never mind.
See, now
I-
you're being Mr. Huffy Puffy.
I got it's known that I don't like this guy, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be Jamison Crowder for James, and Jay, you got who?
I got Ryan Grant from Indy.
Oh, I got a good one for
You
him.
want me to go?
I got a good one for him. No, I'll go first. Okay, ready? As of now, Jamison Crowder, another guy that I happen to draw that is going to be the number 1 option in Washington. It's going to be him and Josh Doxson. To me, I haven't seen anything out of Josh Doxson, to be honest. Haven't seen much from Crowder either. It's been a lot of hype around him. Everyone's waiting for him to pop. He hasn't. Maybe, though, what's going to happen, getting a new quarterback in there, Kirk Cousins is going to be gone. You bring in Alex Smith, who is known to make the shorter yardage, more accurate throws, not like Kirk Cousins, who's a gunslinging quarterback throwing all over the field. So that benefits all the wide receivers in Washington, in my opinion, especially smaller guys like Jamison Crowder is going to be going across the middle, a lot of slants, a lot of wide receiver screens. So the targets I'm not worried about for Jamison Crowder. I guess what I'm worried about is just being inconsistent in that offense. The running back situation that's there is kind of all over the place. The wide receiving core there is kind of new and it's kind of fresh, even though these guys have been here for a season or two. They haven't really played together for many games. One of them always seems to be hurt. They're going into the season now, both guys fully healthy. Chris Thompson now just reported that he's not going to be on the PUP list either. So the offense in a whole, especially with Jordan Reed getting the surgery, he's going to be healthy for week 1. So as of week 1, everyone's going to be healthy on that offense, and I think that Jamison Crowder is going to benefit tremendously from having Alex Smith as a quarterback outside of Kirk Cousins if he can stay healthy. And Ryan Grant, to me, is the most overpaid wide receiver probably in football right now. The contract that he got was supposed to come from Baltimore, and Baltimore got so sketched out by it. As soon as Michael Crabtree got released by Oakland, they could not wait fast enough to say, hey, Ryan Grant failed his physical, see you later, and cut him. That's how sketchy he is, that he couldn't even make the roster there in Baltimore. Now he's on the Colts by default because they didn't have anybody else. But it was just reported on Twitter that Dez Bryant was seen in Indianapolis, in the mall in Indianapolis, hanging out. And you know what that means? If you see the guy there, what is Dez Bryant doing in Indianapolis, guys? There ain't much to do there. If he's at the mall in Indianapolis, if you don't think that he had a meeting with Indy, then you're mistaken. So if all of a sudden you put Dez Bryant on that Colts team, guess where Ryan Grant is? On the bench. He is the odd man out. He's the third or fourth guy.
Dez could just be in Indiana because he has family there?
In Indiana? Where's he from? If you say Indiana, where's Dez Bryant from?
I'm assuming Oklahoma because he went to Oklahoma State, but I don't know where he's born and raised. But
I bet you it's not Indiana. I bet. Let's see, Texas. He's born in Galveston County, Texas. So yeah,
so there you go.
Yeah, plenty of family in Indianapolis, clearly.
You don't know if he has family in Indianapolis or not. You have no idea. To me, Ryan Grant's in a better situation because as of recording, Dez Bryant hasn't signed with Indianapolis. So right now, in my opinion, he's the number 2 behind T.Y. Hilton. All signs are pointing to Andrew Luck coming back, and he looks great, and he feels pain-free. So if he's going to come back, I know you're all in on Andrew Luck this year.
I am.
You've been acquiring Luck all over the place. If he comes back to anywhere near what he was, he could be a top 5 quarterback. He's going to have to throw to some people, right? Because their defense is probably going to be the worst in the entire league.
Right, he's going to throw to T.Y. Hilton. He's going to throw to both of his tight ends, Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle.
And that's it.
No, he's going to throw to Nyheim Hines as well.
Oh my God! So he's not going to throw to Ryan Grant at all.
Surprisingly, he's not being drafted.
Let's just say that before this last season, I would have said Ryan who, but then when you go look up his stats, he finishes 54th in receivers, which I thought was like pretty high for a guy that no one really talks about.
He finished 54 with Washington with all those injuries that they had. I mean, they had 2 injuries to their running backs. They had a bunch of injuries to their wide receivers. Their tight end, Jordan Reed, of course, wasn't there either. I mean, who did they really have on the field last season? Vernon Davis and Ryan Grant. I mean, it was just like he just happened to be there.
Who was in his second year,
I'm just saying he just happened to, like, come on. Okay. Like, he literally got that many points by strictly because of luck of other people getting injured. But okay.
I think he got screwed in the whole Baltimore deal when they signed him and then said it fails physical
so
because they brought in Crabtree. But
they didn't believe in him.
But he landed in a better situation because I'd rather be catching balls from Andrew Luck than Joe Flacco.
Okay, I agree. But you have Alex Smith as Jamison Crowder, who you're trying to make a case for. So I don't know what Joe Flacco has to do anything. So
I'm saying in Baltimore. I'm saying that Ryan Grant, if he would have signed with Baltimore, I think he would be off the radar.
Okay, but he's
not. In Indianapolis, and right now there is no Dez Bryant there. They have T.Y. Hilton, and all he has to beat out is Chester Rogers.
But speaking of off the radar, he's not even being drafted in redraft. So wouldn't you consider that he's still off the radar if he's not even? It's 16 rounds, guys. We're talking here 16 rounds in a 12-team league and a PPR, and he's not being drafted. You don't think that's off the radar?
I think he'll finish higher than 54, so he'll improve on last year.
Okay.
Going from Kirk Cousins to Andrew Luck, and then going to someone that has no defense, they're going to have to throw to somebody. And if they don't sign Dez Bryant, then Ryan Grant's the number 2.
Your heart's not in this one, is it?
What are you talking about?
There's no way you're telling me that Ryan Grant's going to finish. If both of them are on the board right now, it doesn't matter what round it is. Jamison Crowder's there and Ryan Grant's there. If you say right now that you're going to take Ryan Grant, you better be very believable. Go ahead.
Where are they being drafted? Where are they being drafted?
Ryan Grant's not being drafted.
Where's Crowder being drafted?
Jamison Crowder is being drafted in the back end of the 7th round as wide receiver 34.
That's terrible value.
But this only goes up to wide receiver 68, and he did not make it, Ryan Grant.
And they have him finishing last year as wide receiver 54, and I think he's going to improve on that.
Yeah, you do. I'm sure I can tell you really believe that, actually.
What is he? He's 7 spots behind where Keelan Cole finished last year.
Now, if I remember...
7 spots.
Okay. Now, if I remember correctly, though, if I had to say something, Jameson Crowder, I've never been a true believer in Jameson Crowder.
His tiny feet.
But now, and hands. But now he's got a new quarterback, new situation. But I will give you one thing. He's being drafted way too high. Back in the 7th round, basically 7-11 is where he's going right now. I don't feel comfortable drafting him there. But you're talking back into the 7th and not being drafted at all. That's a huge gap. You're talking a 9-round gap between 7th round and 16th round, which he's not even going in. So let's just assume that Ryan Grant would have been taken at 1601, let's just say. Or I'm sorry, 1701. You're talking 9 rounds difference.
First guy off the waiver wire.
Then yes, if that's the case, and like Ryan Grant's on the waiver wire, like, yeah, I would take a shot on him, but I would not draft Ryan Grant anywhere near where Jamison Crowder value is going, and I don't even think I would take Jamison Crowder where he's going. But the two are both on the board. There's no way in the world that you're going to say that you're taking Ryan Grant over Jamison Crowder. So we can wrap that up.
Okay, listen, not that they're not on the board, but I'm talking about value-wise.
Value-wise.
Just your point. You're 7th round on Jamison Crowder, or you wait a week or two to see if Andrew Luck is healthy and see if they sign Des Bryant. If they don't sign Bryant and Luck looks fantastic, Grant's going to be taken off the waiver wire by somebody, especially if he's the number 2 there.
Ryan Grant, I assume, by the start of the year, or let's say by mid-preseason, which is in about a month or so, I think that Ryan Grant will be on this ADP, and he will be in the top 68 receivers getting drafted because he's the only other guy there. Like you just said, it's Chester Rogers and just Ryan Grant. So if they don't sign anybody, which I kind of have a suspicion they are going to sign Dez, but if they don't, and it's just him and T.Y. Hilton, then yeah, he could possibly be on there. But I still would rather have Crowder than Ryan Grant.
I was just surprised at where Grant went. Like, he was basically a middle wide receiver 5, and it was somebody that no one even mentioned or talked about. He probably wasn't even drafted last year in anybody's draft.
No, I said
and
the only reason why
was actually
right. The only reason why is because of the injuries. And he had 2. If you scroll over, how many double-digit weeks did he have? 1,
he has
2,
1,
3, 4.
4
out of 16 weeks, he had 4, which is not terrible. He had a 18-point game and a 15-point game, so that's the reason why. That's the majority of his points for the season.
I know, I agree. He's probably somebody that wasn't even drafted last year, though, is what I'm saying. And now he's going to, in my opinion, a better situation. Like, he's going to be the number 2 if they don't sign Dez. And in Washington, at the beginning of the year before all the injuries, he wasn't even looked at as a starter. He was somebody who was fighting for a spot.
Right, and injuries happen to work his way.
Right, and then he gets the contract from Indianapolis. I think it's a better spot than being in Baltimore, so I think he's in a better situation. I think he could easily finish in the top 50, which obviously is not anything to, like, hang your hat on. He's not going to win you a championship, but if you can get a wide receiver 5 that's not even being drafted.
But to wrap up this segment, though, you'd rather have Jamison Crowder after all the points I just made.
Yeah, if they were both on the board at the same time, yes.
All right, I'll count that as a win, baby. Anything else that you want to touch on? I think we're going to do a running back one as well, if we already haven't done that one. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but we'll do a running back one, and we'll do a Change My Mind episode again.
All right.
All right.
You ready to crack it?
I am.
All right, let's crack it.